Hey everybody, do you want me to go ahead and start Coffee with the Critters?
Yes.
Okay.
Exciting.
So everybody's been patiently waiting for this moment. We're live here at Nancy Forrester's Secret Garden in Key West. My name is Lara Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We're an international educational center teaching people across the world about the use of applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement with animals through our live streams. And you were looking at the awesome Nancy Forrester, so I'm back here for a second year, and we're here with some guests on the other side of the camera.
And we want to acknowledge Steve as well.
Yes, Steve,
who
there he is.
Worked for me for 11 years, and most of the parrots love him
I can tell.
better than me, which hurts sometimes.
And Steve did a lot of work in helping you after recovering from Hurricane Irma.
We had an offer to leave town and go to California, and he stayed.
Yeah, so you wanted me to talk a little bit more about how the misuse of attention.
Yes.
Just like, for example, a dog jumps on you. Identify why the dog is jumping on you. When you figure that out, that's the reinforcer behind the undesired behavior. So if it jumps to get attention and you push it down, that may be enough of a reinforcer to keep the jumping happening. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. So it works the same with people. You know.
I'm not going to push you anymore.
So yeah, most undesired behaviors people unknowingly reinforce, which causes the animal to lose its home. I just keep using references as dogs because almost everybody has one. Yeah.
Rescue.
Yep. You do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many are these all surrenders?
Yes.
All your birds? Yep. So just like Nancy was saying when she first started, like if a bird is screaming, she asked you not to look at it because just that eye contact can be a reinforcer for the undesired behavior. When I'm working with parrots, when they do start screaming, you can identify what the scream is usually for, whether it's like an alarm, because they'll scream in a different manner, and I will always look and see what they're screaming at because it's usually every behavior serves a purpose for that animal. It may not be desired by us, but it serves a purpose for the animal. Yeah. What else did you want me to say?
Can we ask questions?
Absolutely.
So, if you have a parrot and the parrot is screaming, it's very hard not to look to see what's going on.
Sure.
But the actual looking reinforces the behavior because it then says to the animal, I scream, you look, I get the attention.
Yeah.
You can't ignore it.
Well, the hardest thing to do to change an undesired behavior is just ignore it. Because it can cause like increased frustration from the animal. You got some more guests? It can cause increased frustration for the animal. So something I use when I'm trying to change an undesired behavior is called differential reinforcement. You extinguish the undesired behavior. So if they're screaming for attention, you ignore it. You try to withhold the reinforcer, whether that's eye contact, whatever, but then give the reinforcer for an alternate behavior. So one of our birds he will scream for attention. So we all just ignore him, but we've taught him another behavior, which is go to the ground and pick up something and start tossing it as play. And then we turn around and look at him, clap, whatever, give him the attention. Most parrots, they're social creatures. A lot of them fly in large flocks, so they want that attention. So, I mean, we have a really large center, and it can get pretty loud, but it usually isn't because we're giving them other things to do. Like we teach them to forage for their food. They have all types of enrichment in their cages, and I love working with parrots because they're smart. A lot smarter than...
And smarter than some of our friends, probably.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because the dog we have now is much smarter than I am. So, tells you where I fit on the overall scale there.
Where are you guys from?
We're a little town just north of Tampa, hour and a half north of Tampa.
Okay. You as well?
We're from Miami.
Okay. Are you family?
No.
Oh, you just walked in together.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is my godson.
Your newly adopted godson. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm more than welcome, more than happy to answer any questions if you guys have questions. I mean, the reason I got into this because I did get a parrot and didn't know what I was doing. So I went looking for information on parrots, and the more I looked, there wasn't a lot of information. There was not a lot of science-based information out there. It was a lot of just assumptions. So I started traveling, learning about positive reinforcement, went back to school, started taking master's classes in applied behavior analysis, and now that's what I do, is I teach everybody how to use it, and it works.
How did you ever find out about this place?
How'd I find out? My husband and I came down here for vacation last year, and Nancy got in touch with me asking me if I would come over, so I came over this time last year. And then...
Are you still live streaming?
Yes, I am.
Just curious. Okay, fine. I didn't know. Hi, you said hi.
And I can't tell you guys how much it means just to be here, because one of my friends, Sharon Collins, messaged me right before Hurricane Irma. And I knew Nancy, but I didn't know her extremely well. Right before Hurricane Irma, so then I just became intent on finding her and making sure her and Steve and the parrots were okay, and I couldn't.
You sent the police here.
I did. I contacted.
It was an honor to be that sought after.
What did you do with the birds? That's what I was going to ask. Is what you do during Irma?
Well, they all got put into travel carrying cases. A lot of them went into cat and dog that I could pick up myself because the big dog cases are too big. None of their tails got ruined. This is interesting. They were in them for 2 days. Steve, would you please do me a big favor and manage? She's sort of touching the stand in the sense that it would mean that Batman wouldn't like that. Kind of watch that the birds aren't learning to do something we don't want. Yeah. Would you like to join us over here?
No, that's all right. We're just going to move over here a little bit.
Great.
These other birds and take some photos.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we don't usually have the birds out like this, and so usually we have to watch when people meander here. And the birds, he was giving strikes, and she was touching the top of the bar, and that's my job. And that would be distracting to him. So, all right. So there's a wonderful parrot in town named Odie down by the Hyatt.
Yes, I was just with Odie the other day.
And he has been part of the public persona for 20 years or so, and now so many people have approached him that there's I guess I haven't seen it, something in front of his cage so people don't get bitten. That's just from years and years of being probably poked at. So it makes them more beaky with people. That's what I understand. Yeah. So I was sad to hear that. I'll have to go visit him. I actually never go down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there 2 days ago.
Yeah. Good.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. She's a great fan. She at Christmas time she sent him a foraging toy.
Yep.
What kind of toys do they like?
Okay, there was a question before that I didn't answer.
She asked you about the hurricane. What'd you do with the birds during the hurricane?
Let me turn this We always have to have a hurricane evacuation. And I stay in the house with a 1, a 2, and a low 3. So I'm going to have to keep it quiet here. I'm just going to walk over here and hold it.
Go ahead.
Come back.
What got him all?
Well, they like Steve and he's left, and so they're calling after him. They want to be with him.
People are having a hard time hearing.
Highly social parrots, and you can't make them really like you. They either like you or they don't. You can train them and have a good relationship that way. Doesn't mean they're going to like you the best. So a lot of the birds really like Steve, and that's why they're noisier, because he left. I'm hoping. There, you're back. You bet.
And this is key in watching behavior. So Steve just walked back in. Just watch what all the birds are doing.
Good. Especially Batman. And we want a wonderful home for Batman. Batman is a macaw. He's been here. His owner died. He wants a home where he's the only bird in the home. He wants to be the center of attention, and he's been a companion parrot. His owner died, and he's a companion parrot. He was a companion parrot to someone who worked at home, so he was never alone. He was always in the room where he worked, always on the couch if he's watching a television program. So he's used to huge amounts of quality time. And he is getting it from Steve now, but it's not as much as he'd like. We'd like to rehome him. So this is Lara, who's
Ara looking
25
like
years old. You want? Oh, don't even think about it. You want to show him your wings? You're dancing for everybody. Now, she's not trained, but she does understand some words, and one of them is wing wing.
no.
And dancing.
Nice dance.
She is in love with the bird over there, Larry Bird. She would like to always live with him. She grooms him. On a good day, she gets to cuddle with him, fix his feathers, feed him. He doesn't reciprocate, and we're glad he doesn't. Parrots have a tendency to revert to the wild when the two birds like each other, and then they become very hard to handle. And so you want to get up close there.
She
and
seemed
say
to be
hi
missing
everybody.
some feathers on her left wing
Is she?
when she
Oh,
spread
that's because, sadly to say, we don't have a facility where birds can fly, and so we have to trim their feathers all the time and trim their toenails. And some birds, believe it or not, need big trimming. Only 2, thank goodness. But we don't want to lose her, and so.
And can I say something about trimming as well?
You just
Because
say everything you want to say.
somebody asked me this the other day, and they said, "I know you're against clipping birds' wings." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And all of our birds' wings are not clipped; they fly. We just train them to come and do what we need them to do. But they asked, and I said, "Just what's the quality of life? If you clip this bird's wings, you're not going to be able to take it out, and do the different things you do with it. So I think the bird would suffer if the wings weren't clipped. Would have less social interaction, caged more. So, yeah.
So I think my own personal deep beliefs is that humans should have left parrots in the wild. All parrots need to fly free in the wild, because we as humans cannot meet their mental and physical needs. But they rely on us when they're born in captivity. They're imprinted on us as soon as they open their eyes, and so we have to provide all their needs. I'm not displaying parrots to the public here because I believe in the parrot trade. I want it to stop. I want all that to stop. But it's not a perfect world, and because I had a rainforest garden one time and taught from it, the first bird came to me unwanted, snuck in, somebody left it, no note. That was 30 years ago, and so I've had 30 years of experience. But there's an old way of keeping parrots, I think, which is I'm guilty of, which is just to accept them, you can put food and water at them. They did get some enrichment here because people were visiting, and they got to see people walking in and out, which was fun for them. And it's a lovely outdoor, it was a very green space, very lovely. But I didn't provide any sort of interior enrichment in their cages and their caged animals, and I didn't necessarily feed them in a nutritional way, which I'm learning because of Lara and her friend Jason Crean. And he is amazing nutritionist. So that's why this is on the table here.
That's what I was going to ask about the feeding.
Because they don't know how to eat healthy food. Most parrots eat junk food because they eat when people eat. People eat Cheetos and saltine crackers and pizza crust and even Oreo cookies. Oh. So
If we could eat as healthy as our birds.
yeah.
you know?
So I have been making something called chopped and giving it to them. They look at chopped like we don't eat this, okay? So I've discovered that if I make sort of toys like this, and put them in their cages, they pick at that. And eventually, they might not eat any of it or ingest it, but by picking at it and putting it on the ground, they've had it in their mouth. And what I've discovered is they like that red Swiss chard, most of them. And they will actually now eat it, which is a really good sign. Greens are really good for birds. So I made these up. I was going to put 2 cockatoos on the table. I'm not sure I am now because we're too close. We have to back up a little.
Oh, I'll back up for a cockatoo.
Back up for the cockatoos.
I'll back up for a cockatoo.
Bumper sticker. Hi, welcome. I'll back up for cockatoos. That's a classic. That's a classic. So I would like to bring out Mr. Peaches and Molly and put them on the table and let them have at these carrots.
Okay.
And so what I think I'll do is turn this over to you again with whatever people want to do, and I'm going to take her in. She's
when you bring the cockatoos out, I'm going to rearrange some of these birds.
Great. And then if you want to talk to Steve, whatever.
Did you have much trouble with the wild conyers?
I didn't finish any thoughts yet. Sorry. We went to the La Concha Hotel, which is on Duval Street. There was a question about what did we do. I'm having a fussy bird here who's not happy, and we hate to she wants to be ha 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 the center of attention. Ha ha ha.
Of course,
so if
she's
we
a
all go
macaw.
ha 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 and dance, then she'll be happy here.
Ha,
Well,
ha,
maybe
ha.
I can do this and tell you what. Okay, she's the center of attention. Now she's happy. Hi and welcome. So hurricane
Big bird.
with a 4 or a 5, we would never stay here because
The hurricane was a 4 or 5?
the hurricane was a 5, and that was the strongest it gets, and it was terrifying. It was coming directly at us like a bullseye. Right, we're in the middle of it. We were right there, and then what happened is, I need your help. Can you? I can't have her on my arm.
I'll take him in and
Come back and help. Yeah, okay.
So
'cause
watch the bird's behavior.
see,
Steve's leaving.
I have to say the bird comes first. She is so hard to handle right now. What do you want to do? What is it all about? She wants to be the center of attention part of the time, but she's fussy. She's kind of wants to dance and laugh and put her wings up. And yes, that's what she likes.
Nice.
That's what she likes. So she got a little bit of what she wants. But you have to realize she's confined to my arm. She's confined to the...
And when you have a parrot on you and you're trying to talk and have a conversation, it's really hard because you're trying not to upset the bird, which the bird could start biting.
Now, I don't know if she's going to nip at you. Good. Step up. Good.
Nice. There's
We
Steve.
got that from her. Every bird here does...
Everybody's saying hi to you, Steve. Sorry.
every bird here has to do 2 things, and they don't get rewarded with food. They get rewarded with one word called good, thanks to you. Same inflection, same volume, same, it's very clear, messaging from me. They have, when I ask them to step up, they have to step up on my hand, and my arm, and as soon as both feet land here, I say good. And you don't want a stream of consciousness, good bird, good girl, oh that was nice, oh good job. You want it to be a language that's very simple and clear for them. Steve and I spent months trying to get on board with just that simple thing I just explained, because we've been picking birds up for years any which way with not even looking at them. So now they pretty much all got it. The ones that aren't tame can step up on a stick because every bird here needs to be movable. Cockatoos.
Well, you were asking about the hurricane.
The hurricane, I never finished. Okay, so this was Irma who was coming at us.
Can you guys hear okay?
I booked a hotel in town for 3 days trying to get under that roof the day of the storm. We went with 23 birds. The cockatoos were in lucite carrying cases that are quite expensive because they will chew out of anything really quickly. And they were put in the closet in the hotel with pillows all around them so that New York City wouldn't be hearing them when the storm was happening, right? The rest of the birds were in cat and dogs, mid-sized dog, travel sky kennel type things that I get from the Salvation Army because they're perfectly good and they're usable, and I have actually never used them in mass. I take birds to vets in them, but that's an hour up and an hour back. They were in them for 3 days. We stacked them in the room and we put covers over them so that they were in dark time, and there was no noise. We took them out once a day and gave them food and water, cleaned their newspapers, put them back in. 4 birds did not eat, and all the 4 did not eat. They were some of the healthiest eaters here, so we weren't real concerned. There was no irritating noise at the hotel after we left, or during the whole storm. There were dogs barking and barking and barking and howling, and you know, everything a dog can do. Who's doing that? Okay. I'll pick him up and bring him over, which is not a good thing.
He's unhappy? He wants your attention? That's funny.
Mary's 35 years old.
Oh my goodness.
She's a beautiful Harlequin macaw. So would that be happy for you just to be quiet here for just a little while? Can I give you little hugs and kisses and stuff?
Oh, that's a picture.
Beautiful.
Screenshot that.
My little boy. So, I know. There's not enough of us to give everybody everything everybody wants.
So, how long were you in the hotel?
Well, we booked it for 3 nights. We were there 2 full nights.
We evacuated on Saturday afternoon. The winds at that time were gusting up to 80 miles an hour.
Wow.
We came back Monday after the hurricane had passed. It hit here Sunday morning. And we came back Monday. It took an hour and a half to clean the debris away from the front of the house to be able to get in. This backyard was totally unusable for about 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks? Because you couldn't get out here?
You couldn't come any farther than the corner of that cage.
Because we had a lot of foliage, we never saw that building over there, so all those trunks came this way, trunks like this, quite a few of them because they were clumping palms. We were without use of this backyard for 3 weeks until we got chainsaws in here. So the birds were in the house that entire time, and the first few days they were in dark time. I mean, we had no electricity, and we had no way, we didn't have electricity to unscrew our shutters to even open them up to get light in the house. So we were flashlighting everything in the house, feeding the birds, trying to do, we had to boil the water because the water wasn't safe, and I'm not giving my water.
Yeah.
I had to boil the water for the birds for days. We did it.
Well, and it was scary from my perspective. I was trying to find you guys, trying to get you guys help. It was like you guys were in another world. We couldn't even get a hold of you.
There was no cell phone. That's the one thing you want to realize, folks. If you live in a hurricane, you have a battery-operated radio, because we didn't know if the world blew up. We didn't know if we were at war with North Korea. Clearly, you know.
It was tough.
It was tough.
It was tough. That's when, like, I called the police. I called CNN. I called the Miami News. I was on the phone with, I don't know what it's called, Dade County. I don't know. I was in touch with Fish Monster. That's why I want to go see them and say thank you, because they helped me.
That was nice.
Yeah, Fish Monster was help sharing. It's a fishing boat organization down here. So they were helping, sharing, saying, can somebody go find Nancy Forrester and Steve and make sure the birds are okay? And I'm like, I was telling everybody 23 birds, but you have more than that?
Well, because I also have friends who, like a friend who helped us board the house up at the last minute, stayed with us, and right after, he lost the boat that he lived on, and I had to take him out to Stock Island. Maybe 3 days later, I'm taking him out there to try to see if there's anything out there to salvage, because the home that he lived on was gone. So it was things like that and I didn't have any way to contact you anyway, because the only way you could get out of here was landlines, and if you went to stand in a landline line, it was 4 blocks long. So, there were times you just couldn't stand there to make a phone call.
And yeah, another thing, like people were asking, why didn't you, they're not asking on here because everybody knows, why didn't you evacuate? And I was just like, I guarantee you they did not evacuate because you weren't going to leave the birds.
Well, I would never leave the birds, but I could evacuate with the birds. But when you go off the island, we would not have gotten back here for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Residents that left the island weren't allowed back.
well, you couldn't come through the middle keys at all. So they were,
It was 2 weeks, I think, before they let people who had evacuated out. And so if there's any way I can stay actually the building we were in, the roof was coming off all night. The rooms were leaking water. The room across from us, the 2 ladies that were in there were walking and sloshing in water all night. It was no picnic. It really was a very, very powerful storm. We lucked out because instead of bullseyes right on us, it went about 25 miles north, and then the worst part was we weren't even in the eye of the storm. We were just on the edge of it, so we lucked out. We lucked out. Did we do that right?
So then Patricia Sund, who's the inventor of CHOP, we got together. She's really well known in the bird community. We got together. She flew up to Toledo, and we did a live streaming fundraiser to help raise money. I was sharing like crazy your guys' Facebook page for donations to help because, so many people were worried about you guys. They were worried about, does the birds have food? Do they have water?
We did not have any customers for 3.5 months.
No.
Wow.
The last paying customer was the Thursday before the storm. The next paying customer was the last week in October. We went about 2 months without a paying customer.
And both doors were open, and there were no one. So we had, of course, all rescues are just cliffhanging for money all the time. So I'm one of them, even though we're small. I don't require a lot of money myself. I have no great expectations of going anywhere or traveling. I love what I do.
Why would you leave?
I don't want to leave.
how long have you been doing it? How long have you been doing it?
I'm 79. I've been doing this. I've been on the Keys since I was 11. I had a curveball thrown at me 30 years ago as somebody abandoned a bird at my doorstep, basically. And I knew nothing about parrots, didn't want one. When you get one, everybody sees you have one, and then they are throwing up. There's a tsunami of birds coming at you. This is a tiny, just so you understand. Yeah.
It's hysterical.
The best use in the sense of these wonderful animals is to if they like it, and I think a lot of the flock we have now likes being part
Can you talk louder?
of education, and then so the best I can do is provide education. I would never breed a bird. I would never buy a baby bird. Always adopt. If you know anyone who's thinking of getting, you will have so many to choose from, you won't even know which one to bring home.
Another problem is these guys can live to be 30, 50, 80 and more. So
65.
So when people go out and get a parrot without knowing what they're doing, then 2 months into it, they're like, holy crap, is this a lot of work? And you can hear the screaming and the biting. But they can be trained not to do that. But then, so here you have this 80-year-old bird. Well, it's 6 months old. It's going to live to be 80. You don't want it anymore. So you give it to the shelter. And if you think there's a problem with the dog and the cat shelters, wait till you see the parrot shelters that are overfilling because these birds are living for 80 years.
Wow.
So,
Live their owners.
And they
yeah.
don't
And you have to will them.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
They don't euthanize parrots like they do cats and dogs. and I actually don't know why. I think because they're so social and so intelligent. They're much, you know, I have a trainer, I mean, now she's a trainer, but I have another friend who trains German Shepherds and Parrots, and he said that Parrots are brilliant compared to dogs when you train. So,
Can you talk louder?
Some dogs.
I said, can you talk louder?
Yeah.
They're just having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah, and it's windy out here.
Yeah.
So the parrot shelters, I think in another 3 years, they're estimating that there are going to be 100 million parrots in captivity in the U.S. Shelters are overflowing, have to add on buildings all the time because they're not euthanizing parrots in this country, which I'm glad they're not. But that means they have to provide forever homes for large flocks of birds.
And depending where you go too, some people, if they have behavior issues with birds, instead of contacting somebody that can help them with behavior, it's suggested they be put down. I encounter that a lot.
And
I'm like, why don't you just train it? Yeah.
And I don't know if you said this already.
No, I didn't.
You got started with a parrot that was going to be put down.
Mm-hmm.
She brought the bird home, and that started this whole process. I'm not talking loud enough. That's, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Cockatoo.
Yeah. So I adopted a Moluccan cockatoo, which you're getting ready to see a couple come out. They are the apple of my eye. Funny, comical, you'll see, beautiful. And that's what attracts the people. But then they get in and then they see how much work it is. Yeah, but then mine started with Rocky. I adopted a Moluccan cockatoo that was labeled as extremely aggressive, and he would chase me, he would bite, didn't even want me in the house. So that's when I went and started looking for education, and now he's the mascot of the center. Even though we have so many animals at the center, we have a deaf and blind dog, a deaf dog, several parrots. We have one of those things that are just flying around in the sky, a turkey vulture. We have a pig, and we just show and educate people. You can change, because it was suggested that Rocky be put to sleep, and I was like, he wasn't hatched like this. Is all learned behavior. Why don't we just modify the behavior? So that's when I went back to school and started learning about applied behavior analysis.
In the back of my mind, I am remembering a book that I read, a mainstream book about a relationship between a woman and a bird.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ring a bell?
There's a couple of them. Yeah, there's several books out there about individuals with their parrots. Yeah.
Yeah. I read that a number of years ago.
Yeah.
Happened to find it in the library and read it. It was about training a bird and how brilliant the bird was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always tell people the smarter the animal, the harder it is to keep in captivity. The harder it is to keep. That's why I always said I would never have a border collie. Now I have a deaf and blind border collie. Because you have to keep their minds occupied. If you don't keep their minds occupied, they're going to find something to do that's probably you're not going to like it. Yeah.
Considering all the things you said about how complex usually like bird care is, or at least parrots in particular, do you think maybe there's like legislation that might help that, like maybe getting a license in order to own a bird that intelligent?
Yeah, that's so extremely controversial. It would be great if... Oh, here they are! These are the apples of my eye. It would be great if there was education that had to be met in order to get these.
At least an introduction course before someone considered adopting
Yeah.
or purchasing.
Yeah. Well, there's several of the people that are following here know that I'm here. Something I did is I started the Parrot Project. It's an online live streaming through Facebook, and it's all about how to teach birds to do whatever. And there's a couple of shelters that are on here watching that when they adopt out a bird, it is a requirement that they subscribe to the Parrot Project. Yeah.
I love that. I'm thinking of doing that too.
Doing what?
Doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Is having anyone, because people have to go to parrot school. You can't just walk in and come home with a parrot. It just won't work. Hold up your footy and I'll do this.
So these are both Moluccan cockatoos. That's Molly and Mr. Peaches, correct?
The first one toward you is Molly.
Molly.
And this is Mr. Peaches. And Molly.
So see what she's doing. There's no force needed.
Molly. Someone taught Molly. Molly's 35 years old. This is Molly. He's a boy. The girl's name, which happens often. This is Mr. Peaches, who's half his age. And he was impulse bought. He was born in Florida, shipped to New York City, sold in a pet store. 2 weeks later, the lady didn't want him. This is very common, especially with cockatoos. This is the hardest bird to take care of all the parrots. They're needier, and they need a lot, and they're super smart.
Yeah, and in the wild, the Moluccans care for their babies for up to 2 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I learned that through the Indonesian Parrot Project.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
And you see what just happened? He came, someone taught him to have his toenails clipped. This one doesn't know that, and I just clipped his toenails because he watched me do it here. And the easiest way for me to train a bird is to have somebody do it here and praise them, and then over here, this one wants, I want praise too.
Yeah, and studies show that understanding the intelligence of animals, one of the things you look for is an animal that learns through observing, which that's what you just did.
So this one, some years ago, learned to play cell phones. It was his own idea, and he is very apt at playing all kinds of kids' apps on cell phones. And I trust him with my phone, with her phone, anybody's phone, even, you know, if it's wrapped in something. This one watched. Now he's more gung-ho to play with do the apps on the cell phone. He's smart, he's moved on, it's not as fun anymore. It's nothing now what I'm trying to do to keep him interested is train him to do some things with the cell phone, like when he plays a piano app, I want him to swipe, to do a loop, because he's bored with them now. He learned to dance by watching Snowball, the dancing cockatoo on YouTube. He loves Disco, the talking parakeet. He really wants new material, so anytime you come in with a phone, if you have a video or you have anything on your phone that has color, sound, and motion, he's interested. But other than that, my old apps that kids showed him, boring.
And that's another thing. Studies show that with predictability comes boredom. So it's important to keep. I mean, think about us. We don't live down here. We come down here. If we live down here, we may think it differently, but when things don't change, toys don't change, the animals get bored. And a lot of times, even with dogs, people will say, I tried that toy, my dog doesn't like it. And I was like, well, it's had it for 4 months. It's just bored. It needs to move on.
Watch this. If there's a bit of... I just put, this bird has not seen this app for a really long time. This is Talking Pierre. Oh yeah, your buddy. What? What happened? Okay, you both like it. Okay, this is a silly parrot that does a lot of stuff on...
Okay, this is a silly parrot.
Oh, that mimics you?
Oh, you like that? Now, he will play with his tongue. You probably can't see. Let me just do this so people can see. You want to play? Oh, he likes to see what you're doing, Laura, better than this. Molly, do you want to play that?
He likes to see what you're doing, Laura.
Boop, 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 boop. He's throwing hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a silly thing.
What's that called?
It's Talking Pierre.
It does a lot of stuff.
But what he liked in the beginning was you say hello, it says hello back. But what he's interested in is Laura's phone and what she's doing. He wants to see what she's doing.
What she's doing. What he's interested in is Laura's phone and what she's doing.
He's got more interest now. I don't trust him with my techie stuff.
Very funny.
You good. You're both good. You're so good.
How old are these two?
This one is 35. This one is about 15. This is the simple app. Can you swipe? We need another one for you. Swipe. Swipe. Swipe.
If you swiped it while his tongue was down, would that give him the idea what you want?
Swipe. You did good job. So you can, it's playful for us, playful for them. You did a good job. Yeah, you did such a good job. Oh my God, so good. You want a
They
little
get
bit
so much
more?
more comical than that.
A little bit more.
Yes.
Now they're just okay. You first. Oh, no. It's your turn next. How about that? Good job.
Swipe.
What? He's listening to me. He's paying attention. Yeah, he'll get it. They'll get it. I just haven't done it. I've only done it for about a week. So, I just kind of. Is that so? Good. All right. I agree with you.
And these guys can get really loud. I've noticed I'm down here on vacation with my sister. I have a one Moluccan, 2 umbrellas, a green wing, a budgie, and a blue-fronted Amazon. And these guys can get so loud that I didn't realize until this trip. She goes, Lara, there's something wrong with your hearing. My sister's telling me, yeah, and it's because these guys can get that loud.
Do they have a vocabulary like some of the other parrot breeds? Will they learn words?
Oh yeah,
Okay, I didn't know if they had a vocabulary.
they can.
What they do is mimic sounds in your home because they want attention. So whatever you repeat a lot, they're going to say. Especially if you touch objects that make noise, that's probably the first thing they're going to make, like a beep 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 on the microwave, more than maybe the backup sound out on the UPS truck, because they associate with you and they want your attention. Training, I think, is a whole different thing. Training is when you create a language that they can understand through audible and sign, and then the birds can, I think birds can learn, I think somebody told me, and I don't know if this is true, you know, I have to say I don't know if it's true. Somebody told me dogs can learn about 100 audible cues and birds can learn twice that many. Wow. And up until I think 2006, all parrots were considered to be stupid, like bird brain. In 2006, they did a lot of research on these small brains, and it discovered that it's the placement of neurons. They have neurons in their brains in such mass, even though it's a little different than how ours were. It's the neurons that count, and they're incredibly intelligent. So it's recent that science has said that.
There's a lot of studies out right now on the study of the avian brain. And it was, I can't remember the year or the scientist, but there's a smooth sheath over the back part of the avian brain, which people just assumed they weren't as intelligent. But that's thankfully being proved wrong now. Was he saying I love you?
What did it say?
Said I love you.
Hello.
I think, didn't you say it said I love you?
The bird said I love you?
Or maybe.
Probably blue, blue, blue.
And that one I think responded.
Well, Buddy used to talk. His first owner died in 1971, and that was his favorite person. He spoke many words. He doesn't talk after that. He does say, I can sing too. He does say, you want to sing? Sing? That's whistle. So what is that all about? Give kisses? Little kisses? Well, little kitty kisses. So neither of these birds are trained in the sense that if, like Laura trains an animal, she starts out to have them do something. They've just been pets, and we horse around and have fun with them, and so they're not really trained. He stopped talking. He's had many owners. He's 65 years old. So if he just said, I love you, I believe you. Maybe he does. Maybe he's warm. He does like certain people. I can see that. And he'll say the best hello you've ever, hi. Oh my God. The best hello you've ever heard in your life. He can say, bud, up there. It's on the best pronunciation, the living. Oh, it's so beautiful. So I'm going to put these little guys up on the table.
Okay, I'm moving.
Here's what I need from people here.
Somebody's glasses.
You're fine, but just sit back. They're trained not to come, I have trained them. They're trained not to come off the table, and they never have, and I don't want them to. Reach out. And so what I'm going to do is put them on the table, and I'm going to remove a couple things. I brought these, now I'll just tell you a little background here. Molly's history is biting men. This is the boy who doesn't like
That's
men.
Molly?
That's Molly.
He doesn't like men.
He
doesn't like men.
He's always been chosen by men, and he's had a lot of homes. He's been chosen by men who thought they could change him. And the wives didn't particularly want the bird. And then what happened? He fell in love with the women. These are here to keep them busy chomping. Beaks have to be busy. This is Mr. Peaches. You want one too, honey bunny? And so he likes women. So we're also looking for a great home for this bird. Has to be an experienced bird handler who really understands cockatoos and keeps the men in her life safe. This one, yeah, right?
I'm like,
Yeah,
I'll take him.
got him. The one that I I love Molly. I love him. This one, though, deserves, I have no home for these birds to go to. Both of these birds deserve the best, all of these birds here do, but these are very special birds. Mr. Peaches is so sweet. Anybody can handle him, except children. We don't put him on little kids. He likes to get on your arm. He's always nice. If you have long hair, he likes to preen it. He's a hairdresser.
Why don't you try eating some of that?
Because of him... No.
I got in trouble for spitting my food out.
I don't usually do this. This was kind of an experiment today, just because I knew there might be people like yourselves coming in, and Laura might show up. And I thought this will keep them kind of busy for a little bit. Because other than that, they're going to be staring at you.
So what do? They don't eat the carrot. They just...
They do eat the center. He eats the center. I usually slice it like this.
Right.
Are you going to chew up this? This is something new for you. This is cabbage.
Looks like he's shaking. He doesn't like it.
You don't like that? Is that scary? He does love. You know what he loves?
Hey everyone, so my name is Lara Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. I do live streams, especially when I travel, like right now. We're down here with Nancy Forrester at Nancy Forrester's Secret Garden here in Key West. Here in Key West, and you're watching our weekly episode Coffee with the Critters, where we go live every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern and teach people about living, loving, and learning with animals, and I focus on applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement training. and we help share that with people all over the world that subscribe to our memberships or our projects. So I just wanted to, and you can find out more about what we do at the animalbehaviorcenter.com. But we are here in Key West, Florida on Elizabeth Street at Nancy Forrester's Secret Garden. I'm going to turn this back around with Nancy Forrester.
That's amazing. Are the beaks really, really sharp?
Yeah.
Imagine what the carrot is.
Yeah.
Look at
And
go through those carrots like it's nothing.
the cockatoo's beak is, I don't want to get bit by any bird, but one parrot I don't want to get bit by is them. Because their beaks are shaped, it's like this on the bottom and one point on the top, so they can really, yep.
Seeing as you work with alligators too, what's the jaw strength comparison?
I don't know, I don't want to know.
I can tell you that Steve had a girlfriend years ago, and she had a cockatoo, and I can't tell you how much it ripped the muscles in his shoulder, and he had to have stitches and stitches and stitches from exactly this kind of beak. And then when he worked for me here, we had a citron cockatoo, actually a large cockatoo similar to this with yellow going like this. And that bird nearly took his toe off in the house. Yeah. And he couldn't put a shoe on his foot for about 3 months. So.
You don't need any one of those like ninjas or Vitamixes. Those devices that chew things up when you buy these guys.
Yeah. You know, keeping parrots healthy can be very expensive because the diet is expensive. You know, there's so much different fresh fruits and vegetables and nuts that they need. The vet care can be expensive because you're not going to just, now you're paying exotic vet care.
Tree nuts. These are macadamia nuts.
Oh.
Neither of these birds have ever opened one, but some of the macaws do. I get them, they're organic, and I get the smallest I can get from Hawaii. And
They're expensive.
Yes, I
They're
do want to
good
cuddle
for
both of
meat
these, but I
and
can't.
they're good for some of the birds that need more oil in their diet.
So, are these two up for adoption? I didn't know you adopted out.
Oh yeah, I've always adopted out.
Okay, I thought.
Yeah, no.
Well, I know you gave.
Cool. We have 6 up for adoption now.
Okay.
I'm pretty fussy though. They have to be going to homes where most of these birds have come with very poor diets, and I'm big on nutritious food. It's been hard to get to convert them, and I'm not going to send them off with somebody who's going to feed them popcorn every night.
Well, Nancy, if I'm not saying I want these two because
You did last year.
I know. These are my favorites. I wanted to come see them again, but if it ever comes to be where they can't find a home, just know that I would always take them.
Maybe because of a big following you have, someone else that's very big in the Parrot Project might want them, and then we would trust that to happen, maybe. I mean, I want both these birds to go to the best long-term homes. It's not enough to love a bird. You have to understand what they need to be mentally and physically healthy. Everybody has a lot of capacity for love. It doesn't really do it.
No.
You got to really study and learn, and new things are happening all the time. New information. I mean, my goodness, my head at 79, I'm just so excited. I'm just learning every day. New stuff. Thank you for that offer.
Yeah.
It gives me, because I have some homes, some of the birds here that are part of our teaching flock already have homes to go to because of people that I've become friends with over the years. They're younger than I am. I trust them implicitly. They probably do a better job than I do, some of them, like Bruce Robinson.
Bruce
does
and
a
Beth
great
Robinson.
job. Yes, both of them. And some people are willing to wait. I mean, I'm 79, and as long as I'm in good health, I'm hoping to be able to do this for as long as I'm in good health. But I could just go like right now, you could watch me just go, oh, it's over. And I have to have security, so some of the birds have homes to go to. Some of them are not very adoptable because, well, let me put it this way. We love our featherless birds. They're the last ones people choose when they go to get a bird. There are some people that will adopt special needs animals, and they're angels. And I don't think that our naked birds are special needs. They just need to be warm when it's cold. We love them. Their personalities are great, but they're harder to adopt out. And also, we have birds that were abused here and are not friendly anymore, and they're very aggressive, extremely aggressive. I mean, so aggressive. They want to send me to the hospital and never see me again. And we love them just as much as the others because we understand why they became aggressive.
You say
And
featherless?
this is a perfect example here. This is a beautiful, beautiful little girl. She didn't know her name when she came here. We call her Gracie because she needs grace. She was abused and she has lost it. She was raised to be a tame companion parrot and was at one time and now is not any longer. We would love to find a good home for her. And she probably, the right person had enough patience, she could be tamed again.
Sure
Look at
she
her.
could.
Can they? Yeah.
Sure.
She's gorgeous and beautiful and has no fear. I'm not even sure if she would fly in a room to get you and keep getting you. I mean, some birds hang back. Now, you can laugh at this, and everyone does. This is a caged bird response of having been in too small of a cage where he couldn't exercise. He goes around in a circle, and he usually says, "What's the matter, Molly?" when he does that. So it is kind of cute, but we wish he'd had a bigger cage.
Yeah, and you see that in a lot of animal environments that have a history of not being enriched.
You'll see the animal face.
Yeah, they're called abnormal repetitive behaviors. Like you go to certain facilities, you'll see them. Like you'll see bears just sitting there swinging their heads. In polar bears, their enclosures, you'll see them. Like a lot of people will laugh at it because they don't know what they're seeing. And they're like, "Oh, he's playing." I was like, "No, he's bored." They'll, swimming from one rock to another and then flipping. One rock to another, then flipping. So, and that's a lot of what I do. I love working with animals with abnormal repetitive behaviors because I like to change them. The longer they've been allowed to practice that abnormal repetitive behavior, the longer it's going to take you to teach to change it. My battery is dying.
Is it?
Yep, I've got like maybe 20% battery.
Do you travel with an extra battery?
No, I travel with a charger.
Take pictures of each other. Ha! Here we are.
Do you use a portable charger?
Yeah, it's in my purse.
That's great. Plug it in still.
Yeah. Hang on.
I want everybody to just notice something here.
The shadow?
He seemed to be afraid of this when he first got on the table. He was shaking.
Yes.
This one. So I moved it over here, and now he's chewing on a piece of cabbage, which is wonderful.
Well, he watched the other one come up and shoot first, and then he came over and tried.
He chewed up a Brussels sprouts first, and then he wasn't afraid of this big thing. And then he likes okra. You want that?
Nancy, in regards to the parrot abuse, is like a common form of parrot abuse negligence or
There's all kinds.
all kinds?
One thing people do with a bird is when they get tired of it, they buy another bird and put the two together, and that's what happened to her. And she formed a lesbian relationship with another girl and closed off. The other girl didn't want to be with her and plucked her feathers out. So both birds were very compromised. The one that without the feathers wanted to be tame companion parrot and is the sweetest thing you've ever met in your life, but no feathers. People perfect bird.
They won't regenerate?
Well, they don't.
Do you guys have any questions for Nancy?
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I was paying attention to them. What were you saying? Will they regrow the feathers?
If the core's ruined, they never do they?
The longer the damage that ruins the feather follicle, the more likely they won't grow back.
Oh, Skylar!
But Nancy, before my battery dies, people are asking, they want to know how to donate to you. donate money to you.
Nice.
Yeah. So I want to let them know where to go.
So well, oh my goodness.
Is it on your website?
Seize the moment.
Yeah.
Because on my my old website, I'm about to change because I have no bill. They can go there and put money into PayPal if they want to, or they can donate to the GoFundMe project.
Yeah.
Either way.
So
And
there's
I'm about to make a new, a better
website.
KeyWestParrots.com will be my new.
KeyWestParrots.com is going to be her new website.
And I'll put something up there for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they currently right now they can go to what's the
Old website called NancyForrester.com.
NancyForrester.com, and there's a
There's
a donate.
There's a page that says what we need.
Okay.
Disregard the food that we need. I can't change that. And just donate to the utilities, which is just whatever amount you want to donate, and it will go to the birds.
Yeah. So there's a link on there to donate. Takes it straight to your PayPal.
And it's PayPal.
Yep.
The other is GoFundMe project.
Yep.
Yeah.
So look for the GoFundMe project and go on to NancyForrester.com. Click on donate, and right there you will find a PayPal link. And I'm sure.
I think the reason you chose PayPal was because they take less percentage, right?
It's easy.
It's so easy.
It's so easy
Everybody
to use.
has it.
Yeah. Even if you don't have a PayPal account, it's gonna poop.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a
Let me
PayPal
just do
account,
this
you don't
because
need it. You can still make a donation.
This is called Go Potty. Hello.
Oh.
You need a potty? I saw that coming. It's okay. Oh, all that beautiful dust coming out of you. You can go. Go potty.
How do you adopt a bird? Contact Nancy. You can find Nancy on Facebook. The Facebook group is Nancy Forrester Secret Garden, and you can message her there, or you can find Nancy Forrester on Facebook.
Potty bird. I know it's embarrassing in front of all these people.
Is that why?
We won't look.
We won't look.
What's the matter, Molly? So my battery is about to die, so I'm going to let you guys go, but thanks for joining another year.
Hello.
We gotta get in the
Tell them bye-bye.
Say bye-bye.
He just
Bye.
said bye.
Bye.
Tell them bye-bye. He just did.
I heard him.
I did that once.
So join me down here next February, the end of February. I'll be live streaming from Nancy Forrester's Secret Garden, and it's great to be here another year, Nancy and Steve.
Good.
Thank you for all you do.
Oh, love. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, guys. You can check out NancyForrester.com or catch me live with Coffee with the Critters next Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. All right. See you guys. Bye, Nancy.
For all those who love Laura's hair, I'm trying to outdo her.
All right. See you guys.
She has a lot of friends who love her.